my feel-good breakfast show.
A feel-good breakfast show indeed. We're talking about learning disabilities in our children as they are heading back to school. Now, so far we've established that there are no specific statistics that are out, but we do know that between 10 and 30% of our children have got difficulties at school. We're taking your calls this morning on 083 913 3728. Dr. Darren Green in the house. We already have a call from Krugersdorp. Norco, what's your question this morning or your comment?
Hello, how are you?
We're very well. How are you?
We're good. Hi, Dr. Green.
Good morning.
Good morning. I have a question. I know we're talking about learning difficulties in our children,
Yes.
and children basically heading to school. I have a 3-year-old, and I just wanted to ask, from which age do you actually start looking at this? Because, okay, you know when your child is like that age, they're busy, they're all around the house and all of that. Okay, my son goes to creche and all. But now I just wanted to find out, when do I start looking at this to say that, okay, now this child has a difficulty, or this child, when do I start looking for these signs in him?
Okay.
At which age?
Thank you so much for your question. So at which age does she identify it?
Yeah, so, you know, your ability to do things that require good interpretation of language, for example, will be perceived in a child's behavior. So children under the age of, let's say, under the age of 6, so little children, 2, 3 years old, like she describes, they use a lot of play therapy. So they play a lot. Their ability to stack blocks and do specific things at specific task phases of their life is sometimes the first indicator. Remember also that a child's speech development, their language development, ability to learn new words and vocabulary is something that you pick up on quite early, by the age of 3. And then also to start the fluency of sentences, the way they structure sentences and that kind of thing. So that could already start indicating things like that.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your questions and comments that are already coming through. 083 913 3728. I think it's Joy from Johannesburg on the line. Joy, you're live on Expresso. Good morning. What's your question or comment?
Hi, morning, Ilana. My question to the doctor is, my son's been diagnosed as dyslexic, and I've not been able to find a lot of support and help as far as the schooling is concerned. So I just wanted to find out from the doctor, what kind of things can a person do to assist him aside from the normal mainstream schooling?
Joy, how old is your son?
My son's 15.
Okay, thank you so much for your question. So,
yes, dyslexia being a really challenging difficulty sometimes of not being able to actually communicate and write, for example, or spell words that you use every day. You understand the meanings of the words. You actually understand basically how to place the word in sentences, etc., but have difficulty sometimes reading or even writing those words down. So that's a specific entity, a neurological entity, where there's a pathway communication problem between a specific area of the brain. So that is a highly specialized field and should be firstly diagnosed on a specific level by a specialist in the field. An occupational therapist that works with children is one of the people that you could see with that. And then a pediatric neurologist that specializes, for example, in neuropsychological manifestations of language and so forth could also help with that problem. In terms of schooling and scholastic help, very important to realize that the approach to dealing with dyslexia is quite interesting. From using different types of play therapy and also, as we spoke earlier, enhancing the different forms of learning. In other words, adding movement to learning. Adding, for example, auditory stimulation to hearing activates those pathways that are sometimes dysfunctional between certain lobes of the brain. So to give you a simple example, adding music to someone's learning environment can actually enhance or help certain people to memorize things. The exercises that they would have to do in focus, attention, memory, etc. would all contribute to that, but it needs to be in a controlled environment and a very specifically designed program for her son.
Okay, well, the good news is to all our callers, there's help out there and there's lots of information available, especially on this show, because we're going to keep talking about it. 083 913 3728 if you have a question or comment to Doctor. I want to specifically ask about ADHD. But before we even get there, we're going to line up your calls while we listen to this guy. Now, it seems like the group is broken up, but it's the best thing that has happened to Nick Jonas. There's some music video in play, but before that even happens, here he is with his latest.